The gatehouse is pretty much done. The keep has now been finished. It's time to build the Great Wall. Ladies and gentlemen, Shaolin monks, Kung Fu masters and medieval engineers, welcome to another Timoredbeard video. Today we are continuing with our Saturday mega build, and of course with the gatehouse pretty much there, the keep pretty much there, just finished off the top a little bit. It was time to build the Great Wall, the wall that was going to defend one entire face of this build, and it needed to be a tall wall. So we're going to get into that, but before we do, if you do like this video, please hit that like button, consider subscribing, and don't forget to caress that notification bell. And the Discord competition ends tomorrow. You still have a chance to get your entry in, but if not, we are starting a new competition on Monday that will go for 2 weeks. So make sure you get in for that. There will be Steam gift cards up for grabs. Otherwise, let's crack straight into this. So to start off with in this video, I'm just finishing up the keep, and I'm not showing you too much of it because it was kind of boring. All I did was just fill in the top of the keep with some stone flooring for ceilings, and chucked in some battlements with some 1x1 stone blocks. The keep the roof was a pain in the ass to do, which is why I'm not showing you it, because there's a lot of things falling down, rebuilding them, falling down, rebuilding them. Eventually I got there with the right supports and the right, you know, iron beams, etc., iron poles, all got it in there. But what we're really working on today is the wall and the things that are attached to the wall, like the ramp up to the back tower and a few other little bits. So let's crack into it. Now, when I build, I like to set up certain parts as a reference for what other parts I'm going to build. And for this build, one of the main parts that I'm using as a reference is this central passageway that's leading all the way from the gatehouse up into the keep and along through the lower part of the keep. So what I'm doing is I'm extending the passageway all the way out to the other side where the hill starts to go up further, and then I'm going to use that as a reference for where the wall is going to go, at what height the wall needs to be, etc, etc, etc. So we lay down a bunch of stone floors, then we chuck in a bunch of walls to the right height of the passageway and close all of that in, and we add a staircase in the middle leading up to the central courtyard of the castle. Now it's time to terraform for the wall, and of course the thing that we're going to do as our primary foundation is to terraform to the highest capacity the area where we want to make our wall, because as you can see, this valley stoops very, very low, and we want to be using as little stone as possible so that the wall isn't getting too weak once we reach those higher levels. So I'm just terraforming this now, building ground up to as high as it will possibly let me go with the maximum terrain deformation level, and then we're going to start placing a wall down on it, running from the keep all the way across to where the hill starts going back up on the other side. Now, I, like always when building a big stone wall, I'm making sure that I'm alternating the bricks from layer to layer so that it looks like a proper brick pattern and it looks nice and aesthetic. And I'm also just double checking the structural integrity every now and then to make sure that it's not getting too weak, and being able to chuck some iron holes in there to reinforce when needed. For the most part though, I didn't need to reinforce this wall very much at all, except for down at the very, very bottom of the valley where the wall was tallest, at which point I did throw in a couple of iron poles running from the foundation level to ground all the way up the wall, and that was enough to secure the entire wall, and I didn't need any more iron than that. Then I decided to work on the staircase to continue my reference on the inside of the keep. So of course, as the hill goes up, it would not be smart in a defense situation to lower the level of the terrain over there to match the keep on the front side, because then the hills in the distance would be higher than the keep, which would allow ranged weaponry such as bows and maybe even siege weaponry to very easily deal and dish out damage to the castle. So we of course have to use the top of the terrain to our advantage, and so to do that I'm running a big staircase again up from the bottom passageway all the way up to the top of this hill, where we will start building our rear defensive structure, and that will be in another episode. But I'm just building the staircase now so that I've got a reference point for where I'm building the wall and the fortifications in this area. With the staircase there as a frame of reference, now it's time to return to the wall and get it up to that maximum height that I wanted it to. Unfortunately, I did lose a little bit of footage here of my initial design of the wall, but I continued just testing out what kind of wall style that I wanted to do, and I ended up raising the wall another 6 meters up from the level of the top of the passageway in the keep, and then I added some flooring and some battlements. But honestly, the battlements just weren't quite doing it for me. And whilst we don't have really an easy way to make proper crenulations in Valheim yet, I wanted to make something. And so what I ended up doing was creating a wood solution that I think actually ended up looking really good. With the first section of wall really starting to come together, I felt like it could still use something more to help break up that single 2D aspect. And now historically castles used to have these sort of inverse angle windows that were great for shooting out of and really hard to shoot into. And whilst I definitely can't just plonk those into this build that easily, I did work out a way to create something quite similar that I think looks really good and I'm really quite proud of. All I did was remove a 1x2 block and then take 2 1x1 cube blocks, rotate them 45 degrees, and then get them to sort of sit inside their side blocks, and it created this inverse angle gap that really looks quite nice. And with that, I was quite happy with how the wall was looking. It didn't look too fancy, it was still looking sort of like not perfectly historically accurate, but also not completely fantasy-esque. It was time to carry on working on the rest of the wall and to almost print this design the whole way along to really bring it together and make it look good. And lucky enough for me, because we did build this wall in sections, even though we did lose the footage of me making the crenulations and battlements at the beginning, we didn't lose it for this section of the wall. So you get to see how these wooden sections that are overhanging over the front look and are made, etc, etc. So what I do is I just take 45-degree beams and I stick them out from the bottom of the floor blocks, and then I connect these beams with 1x1 floor panels, which I create almost like an L shape or a angle shape with, so that there are holes in the floor. And this of course is a sort of medieval historic technique where you would have like your wall and then you would have the overhang, and on the overhang there would be holes that would drop things down onto the people that are at the base of the wall. Also, the overhang would make it much harder for things like siege ladders to be placed up against the wall and for people to climb up against them. They were a fantastic defensive tool and something that I feel like gets missed out on a lot of castle builds, especially creative ones like I'm doing here. So the time came, I just had to fill in the, I don't know what to call them, but the shooty holes. I'm going to call them the shooty holes. Just had to put in the shooty holes, the angled blocks, to make them complete. And then there was just one last thing to do on the Great Wall, and that was to provide some sort of roof to it. So let's do that. To make the wall roof, all I did was take some core wood, beams and poles and run them along with pillars interdispersed along the wall, and then chucked in some 26-degree thatch roofing, 2 on either side of the beam, and it created a lovely looking roof. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Great Wall. I did continue after this to build a bit of a stone structure around the stairs leading up to the next part of the build, which you will see next week. So I just want to say thank you so much. If you do like this video, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and don't forget to caress that notification bell. I really appreciate it. If you want to support me further, then check out the links below. I have a Patreon and also a merch store. Please do go check them out. Become a patron if you so fancy, or go pick yourself up some merch. These really do help me in putting out more content, and I would be very appreciative of it. If you want to join the Discord, then you definitely should. It's also in the description below, and there are lots of things you can do. You can sign up for Pimp My Base, you can sign up for Friday's Fantastic Thoughts, and you can enter into the build competition that has Steam gift cards up for grabs. I would highly recommend joining the Discord. I do stream on Twitch from Tuesday through to Friday, starting at 1 PM GMT. I would love to catch you there. That link is also in the description below. You're probably tired of hearing me say that now. So I'm going to leave you to this fly around, and I will say peace out. Take care.